Maybe you've heard the story of how I almost quit teaching on my first day of school. Despite the fact that I had spent 3 months preparing moment-by-moment lessons for that fall. Despite the fact that I was wearing my super cool white embroidered shirt from Bass and carrying my first ever leather shoulder bag. Despite the fact that I asked all my friendly, talented, and kind new colleagues what I should do on that first day. I totally blew it. Big time. And I want better for you. I want you to feel happy and confident on day one. So you hit the school year running instead of crawling like me. Because I almost quit that day, but then I didn't. Today, I've got some stories and some advice for your first day of school. So let's dive in. Welcome to the Spark Creativity Teacher Podcast, a podcast for English teachers looking for more. More creativity, more engagement, more joy, and no more scripted curriculum, lesson planning ruts, or boring book lists. I'm Betsy Potash, and I'm honored you're trusting me to help. You're not alone on this creative journey anymore. Okay, piece of advice number 1. Don't try to memorize names when you've got 10,000 other things to think about. One of my first mistakes on that very first day was thinking that I'd be able to learn my students' names with everything else that was going on. I didn't create any kind of name tags, name tents. I didn't study photos from school IDs. I just figured I would look at the kids' faces when I called attendance because the word here is just so memorable, and pretty soon I'd know their names. Little did I know the world would basically be a blur for me that whole first day as I used the attendance program for the first time, met a whole bunch of people I had never met before, taught terrible lessons, and even, true story, had to convince a stray cat to walk back out of my classroom after he walked in through the open door of our trailer. Twice. And to be honest, I was kind of scared of cats back then. Trying to learn names like this led for me to a very stressful day 2, 3, and 4 because I randomly learned a few names, and that only made me feel worse when I got to someone whose name I didn't know, and extra worse when I thought I knew someone's name and then accidentally called them someone else's name. It took me years to figure out how to deal with this whole name issue, but now I have a fabulous solution. You want to use name tents. That's my advice. You can either print kids' names onto cardstock and fold them and just pass them out on that first day, or give them some stiff paper to make their own, or use like a one-pager name tent so they put their name across it and some stuff about them, some pictures, some quotes, some favorite songs. Once you have those name tents in front of students, all the pressure is off you. You will never be grasping for a name that is almost certainly not in the back of your mind, and it takes that icky pressure off. It also helps students get to know each other. So now I just think it is an absolutely fabulous solution to the name issue. Use name tents. All right, piece of advice number 2. You may have heard me say this before. Never read the syllabus out loud. All these years later, and I still remember the moment I realized I had lost them. I had lost those students on my very first day. Every student was holding the syllabus, staring at it as the glaze crept over their eyes. I literally watched them stop caring, knowing I had no backup plan whatsoever and would just have to continue riding my read the syllabus out loud train off its tracks. So don't be like me. Pass out your syllabus and then, in Elsa's famous words, let it go. If there's something you really need to reinforce, sure, go for it. But reinforce it in less than 5 minutes or suffer the consequences. Number 3, think of the future when it comes to your displays. Now, I can still close my eyes and remember my first classroom. It was a blue trailer with blue carpeting right on the edge of this soccer field, and I remember it really fondly. I also fondly remember my first display, which I put a lot of effort into. It was a series of nature photographs I had taken with lines of poetry from Emily Dickinson overlaid on them. They were fun to create, they were fun to display, but they really didn't serve much of a purpose in my classroom. They did not come in handy for displaying student work I could easily change out. They did not guide students toward great books in my library. which I didn't have yet. They did not answer anybody's questions about MLA or introduce any contemporary authors or really anything else. They just sort of sat on their bulletin board. Maybe some students noticed them, maybe they didn't. So here's what I have to say about that. While an isolated, super cool display can certainly be fun, and if you want to take the time to create one, that's fantastic. I had fun putting up my Emily Dickinson display. But if you're tight on time and you want displays that are serving more of a purpose in your classroom, then you might want to go with a more practical approach. Consider this. One of my favorite forms of displays these days is a string along the wall between two hooks with little clips. This is the easiest display in the world. It takes 90 seconds to put up. It takes, $2 worth of command hooks and some string. And then you can easily display stellar work on it in 90 seconds throughout the year. You just add the work with the clothespins, with the little clips along the string. And when you want to change it out, you get them all down in 90 seconds. You put all the new ones up in 90 seconds. It's fantastic. Same thing with like a big bulletin board or section of the wall that you somehow have backgrounded with pretty paper or a border. And it has a header that says like #crushed it or Hall of Fame, or I've seen lots of people doing the fridge. I love that, the fridge. Again, now in the time it takes to push in 10 push pins, you've got a new display, and you can easily do that every couple of weeks throughout the year. You keep students surrounded by their own wonderful work, and that's really inspiring. I also love the idea of displays that complement the work you're focused on. So if there's something you're doing in the first part of the year, like you want kids to understand MLA for your first paper, or you're diving into rhetorical analysis, maybe put up some posters that relate to that subject. MLA citation posters or rhetorical analysis posters that define ethos, pathos, and logos in fun ways. Last but not least, when it comes to displays, I've gotten really fond of displays as a vehicle for bringing more voices into the curriculum. This is certainly not something I was thinking about on that first day, but it's something I think about a lot now, and it's really a wonderful option. Maybe you're celebrating Hispanic American Heritage Month in September, and you want to put up a display that features Hispanic American authors, or maybe you're trying to draw attention to some of the new authors you have in your library, and you want to put up like little bios of them and QR codes that go to their websites, or trailers for movies of their book version, like movie versions of their books, whatever. A display can help show students more writers that you want to bring into your course in your classroom, even if you don't have budget for 100 copies of their books. All right, that kind of leads me to my next one. Don't just leave the dusty old textbooks from 20 years ago on the shelves in your classroom. Shelves are so precious, but I had no idea what to do with all the random copies of old textbooks that were sitting on the shelves in my classroom when I arrived way back when for my first day. I can't even remember what they were. Dictionaries, old copies of Norton anthologies, random vocabulary books from 40 years ago. These books did not inspire me, nor I'm sure my students, but I really didn't know what else to do with them, so I just left them there. Don't make my mistake. If you've got shelves in a classroom you move into that are full of random old stuff, throw it in a box with a label marked archive and stuff it deep under something. Maybe you can make it a small tower of archive boxes and cover them with a tablecloth and use them as a table for a book tasting. Once you get all that archive junk out of there, dust off your shelves and start your classroom library. It took me many years to display my first choice reading book in the classroom, but you can learn from my mistakes and start right now from day one. All right, maybe this one is a little silly, but I have found that it's very important to many folks, and so I'm going to mention it. Wear great shoes for your first day. And clothes that you love, right? You want to be comfortable. Personally, as a new teacher, I found the whole idea of a work wardrobe kind of overwhelming. I went out and bought a lot of pairs of something called editor pants at Express and just kind of fudged my way through the transition from college to work. But probably you already have a cool teacher wardrobe full of just the right level of formal clothes and shoes that you can stand up in for 10 hours. But just in case you want any ideas on that second front, the shoes, it just so happens that I have gathered a lot of opinions on this matter since that first day of school when I wore black wedge sandals and was not super comfortable. So here comes a lightning round of popular teacher shoe brands according to the teachers that I know, which is a lot of teachers. Okay, so here we go. Clerks, Keens, Rothy's, Hey Dude, Skechers, Bionic, Toms, Allbirds, Chacos, Teaks, Birkenstocks, Crocs, Blundstones, On Cloud, Doc Martens, Hoka's, Vans, and Taos. And in the show notes, the full show notes on my website, you're going to see like a little fun visual mock-up of all these types of shoes. You can see which kind might be your style. These are all shoes that various teachers across my community swear by as the shoe that they wear for school. So if you're trying to figure out what's going to be your shoe, you might want to consult their opinions. All right, last but not least, the advice I want to give you, I'm calling it build in a parachute. Your first day of school, like mine, may not go perfectly. I mean, yours is sure to go better than mine since you're learning from all my mistakes, but still, it wouldn't hurt to have something fun to look forward to after school. Maybe something involving other adults or your family members that you completely trust and enjoy being around and, will give you a change from your day at school. When I think back about that first day of school that I had, I think if I had gone off with some colleagues or a friend from college and laughed it all off over a frosted animal cookie frozen yogurt at 21 Choices, I might have felt a lot better. Instead, I went into my office to cry for a couple of hours and consider leaving the profession. Not great. Not a great transition into my day two. So much better if you don't make my mistake. Plan in advance to meet colleagues for boba, or join your partner for popcorn and a movie, or pick up your kids and head for laser tag where you're going to laugh hysterically, or whatever else will help you keep your perspective and give you something to look forward to at the end of your very busy first day, because I'm here to tell you day two will come and probably it will be better if something goes wrong on the first day, and then the next day will even be better. So even if there's an awkward moment or two on that first day, it won't matter as much once you're laughing about it with a friend as you slurp up tapioca balls from your boba or watch your hilarious movie or whatever. So build in a parachute. All right, my friend, let's leave it here for now. I have a feeling your first day is going to be fabulous, and I'll be cheering you on. Thanks for joining me today. Until next time, take care of yourself and stay creative.